Hey everybody, welcome back. Today I am going to be reviewing the classic masculine from the House of Hermes, Bel Ami. Now, obviously, given how long it's been around and how popular this fragrance is, there are probably hundreds of reviews that you can go and watch or read about. So to make mine a little bit different, I've got samples of the current version of Bel Ami from Hermes, and I also have a 2007 version. Now, originally when it was released in 1986, it looked like this and came in this fancy cocktail shaker style bottle. Then the first change, the bottle looked like this one, and that's what I'm comparing to today, and now the bottle looks like this. So my comparison is only between the current day version and the last supposed reformulation. Okay, I have not smelled the original vintage, and from what I understand, it's fantastic and superior to what is available now. But given I'm not much of a vintage hunter, I am more interested to see what's changed between this 2007 version and the current day version. So I'll get straight into it. Now I've got the dry down for each going, so I'm going to spray some of the new one on my right wrist and some of the older one on my left wrist, if I can find that spray. Okay, so the note structure to my nose is all still there for both of them. There are some slight differences. So what it opens up with, to give you an idea, this really, if you go to look at the textbook definition of a chypre, this really has that structure in place for me. It is predominantly, through its life, this kind of leather chypre structure, but I'll get to the leather later. But it opens up with this gorgeous, full-bodied, juicy bergamot with a hint of, I pick up some orange citrus undertones as well. Now, in the opening, what I want to say is, in this slightly older version, I detect more mossiness that is apparent in the opening, much more than it is in the current version. In the current version, it's there, but it's kind of dialed back and more into the background. The current version of Bel Ami also lacks just a little bit of bite from spices in the opening. For some reason, because of maybe that moss, I feel like there is more of a sharpness to the opening of the 2007 version of Bel Ami. But it's not to say that one is better than the other. They're just slightly different. When they start to dry down, when I was taking notes on the development of these things, they started to become very, very similar. I will say this: the current version of Bel Ami, during its development, has a more refined feel to it, and by that I mean it's a bit smoothed out. The spiciness is a little bit more dialed back. I certainly detect in the older version some more spicy floral, which could be something like a carnation, whereas in this newer one, actually I'm going to take that back, because smelling them now, they are almost identical, and really the opening is the biggest difference so far. As they start to dry down, again, there is not a lot of difference. So the development of Bel Ami opens up with that beautiful, I get mainly this beautiful bergamot, bit of orange. As that top starts to burn off, I get some spiciness. Probably there, it's really a well blended melange of florals, I guess, with some spices, and all the way through there is a mossiness. Now, it is quite possible that this older version, because I'm not quite sure when oak moss was sort of very, severely limited in use, and whether this has a lot more real oak moss in it, because as I said in the opening, it was definitely mossy. Now, as it develops, you do start to pick up this. The leather in here is not I wouldn't describe it as an in-your-face obvious leather accord. There is a leveriness, like the leveriness that you might get off other raw materials, such as birch tar, such as labdanum, maybe some castoreum. Maybe there's a bit of all of those things in here. It's got quite a exhaustive note pyramid. There's even things in that note pyramid that I don't really pick up, but there is this vague leveriness that runs all the way through it, and it's this kind of, for me, this very dark, deep, oily leather. But at no time does it get really animalic, and also it never gets brand new car seat leather, if that makes any sense. It's just an idea of leather, and it gives this scent its character, because, as I said, it is a classic chypre construction, with leather as its spine holding everything together. It is. I want to say there is some, probably a little bit more smokiness in the older version of Bel Ami as well, but only the very slightest difference. And all of that is to say that I don't actually think the older version is a better version. Some people will obviously prefer what they get from this older one, but I actually am a bigger fan of the current version of Bel Ami. And I want to repeat, I have not smelled the original vintage that came out in the mid-80s, and I don't know what that is like and what the main differences are, because I haven't smelled it. But I'm more than happy with what is coming out of the bottle of the current Bel Ami. The original was composed by Jean-Louis Cizac, who was also responsible for Dior's Fahrenheit and YSL's Opium Parfum, amongst other things. But he's made some quite landmark fragrances. And I think what Jean-Claude Helena did with this version, with his take on Bel Ami, is pretty good. I mean, the dry downs are basically identical for me. If you want to say anything in terms of the differences, the opening is slightly heavier and mossier to me on the older version, but after that it's really kind of nitpicking, and it's just down to personal taste which one you prefer. I feel like the current version is definitely probably more likely to be worn by someone who's new to this kind of fragrance. Not that I think that this is a challenging wear by any degree. I think if you want to start getting into some like complex leathers, into chypre, especially if you're a male and kind of a bit hesitant to explore perfumes in this genre that were created for women to wear, this is the place to start, I think, and it's a great introduction to leather fragrances, especially masculine leaning leather fragrances. So I really, really like Bel Ami, and I think, well, I'm pretty sure that I'm going to end up with a bottle at some stage when I'm done with this, because there's not quite really anything like this in my wardrobe. I also want to say this particular perfume is also inspired some highly regarded and much more expensive perfumes. Roja Fetish, I think, is the one that is supposed to smell a little bit like Bel Ami, and also Pure Distance M. Now, the thing about that one is I smelled that a few years ago. Admittedly, it was only a small Lucky Scent vial, but I was decidedly, I guess, unimpressed and underwhelmed. It left me a little bit flat. And if you have smelled either of those fragrances and you like them, but they are beyond your budget, I don't know why you wouldn't get yourself a bottle of Bel Ami, because it's all there as far as I'm concerned. But if you disagree, you're welcome to tell me why. But I find it's hard to fault. This does last on my skin a good 6 to 8 hours. If I do say anything, at the same point in the dry down, and look, that could be the spraying, so I don't want to say, but there's very barely any discernible difference in how much they're projecting, how strong they are as well. It's a very sophisticated, multi-dimensional fragrance, Bel Ami from Hermes, and beautifully made even in its current iteration. So I hope you enjoyed that review. I'll see you all very soon. Bye.